recording now.
Will you be
So today,
sharing the
guys,
recording?
oh, what's that?
I was asking if you'd be sharing that.
Yep, we'll share that. So we use Kajabi. It's you can get a free account there, and then it's in our biweekly mastermind. I'll put a link here in the chat sometime while Peter starts, and then once he starts going, I'll grab that link, and then probably by the end of the day, maybe tomorrow, I'll have it in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So while we are waiting to get started, Mara's coming in. That's awesome. While we're waiting to get started, if you guys have experience with, this transactional funding concept, this double closing concept, let us know in the chat so we kind of know who we're talking to today. If you are currently double closing, you only double close, you're terrified of double closing, you never did it. We'll talk all sorts of stuff about that today, and that way we can get a read for who's here with us today. Just put yes, no, never done it. Never done it.
Is there
Matthew, have you heard of it? Have you done it before?
in our state we have the whole wholesale is illegal situation. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Aware and interested as I operate in some states where wholesaling isn't illegal. Yeah. Dylan hasn't needed to yet. Right, all right. What
Oh,
states
is
are you
illegal.
in,
Okay.
Matthew? Where you at? I know you were just in the challenge, I think, so I haven't gotten a chance to meet you fully.
I'm in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia area.
Okay, cool. We got some really good users in Pennsylvania. Adam Garner, have you heard of him? Haven't done it. Wanted to add to our back pocket. Yep, of course. Awesome, awesome.
Matthew, I'd like to connect with you. We actually are in PA, Maryland, and we're working on getting to West Virginia. So
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Cool. All right. We'll give it about one more minute and then we'll fire this thing up. And then everyone who is late's late. So we got a mixed bag of people here. Um, that's good. Annie, that's your primary market that you're referring to, PA?
yeah, so we have like wholesale innovation pretty much ironed out in PA.
Okay.
And we are looking to scale it into Maryland and West Virginia. We've done wholesale in Maryland and West
Okay.
Virginia. We actually just applied for our license under a broker today in West Virginia. So yeah, it's
Okay.
like 2026. We're trying to be like the tri-state real estate.
Sure.
That's the goal.
Okay. Primarily wholesaling, flipping, holding.
Um, all. So
Okay.
it just depended on what the numbers look like. Josh, the
Sure.
owner of the company, just decides on what kind of dispo it'll be.
Perfect.
And then we're
Cool.
also, of course, licensed agents too. So yeah, we just try to
Yeah.
get every option possible.
Yeah. However you want to sell, we'll take it.
And that's it. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Awesome. All right. Well, Peter, I'm gonna let you take it away, man. If you want to kind of just let everybody know who you are, where what you do, where you're located, who you help, and then we can kind of jump right into your talk. And we can go as long as we want. Typically we end about 11:15, but I mean, if you run long or you got lots of questions, let's handle them all. If you guys have questions, maybe maybe just put them in the chat here and we can address them towards the middle or the end, but we'll let him kind of flow through his talk and see if, this is something that we can help you guys with. Peter is a partner of ours. He's on our partners page, his company, and we're really excited to have you on, man. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I am like most people in this room, like wholesaler at heart. I've been a wholesaler for 9, almost 10 years now. I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina. but I used to have a really big team and we were in multiple markets. We used to do a lot of virtual stuff 4 or 5 years ago. So in that time frame, I've done over 600 transactions in wholesaling. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I was all assignments up until then, a little bit of wholesale. I do a few flips a year. But then right after COVID, we started selling to a lot of like the iBuyers and hedge funds, and they wouldn't really let us do assignments. Or if you were making over $15,000-$20,000, like their acquisition guys would just tell us straight up, like, hey man, you have to do a double close on this, or my boss or my boss's boss is going to come back and make us go down on our offer because they hate to see anything that you make over a certain amount, right? And that's how I got thrown into double closings. I was like, what is that? I didn't even know what it was. I'd gone 4 or 5 years and never done one. So we kind of scrambled and we're trying to find people to fund it for us, because if at one point we were doing 20 to 30 deals a month and we just didn't have the capital to be able to double close, like 60-70% of those were selling to those big buyers. So it was like a trial by fire, right? Like we would scramble. A lot of private money, hard money people just wouldn't do it. They were just like, oh no, we'll lock you in at 30, 60 days, whatever. And you have to pay a bunch of points and all these processing fees and everything like that. And I'm like, no, I just need the money for like 2 hours, right? Like I don't need to deal with all that stuff. So finally, after a while, I was like, man, if I'm coming across this issue, like other investors, other wholesalers are, and I couldn't find anybody. I could find people in little pockets in certain markets that would do it for a little while and then they disappear, whatever, but I couldn't find anybody. We were in like 6 different markets at the time, and I just couldn't find anybody that would do it nationwide, or at least in the markets that we were in. So I was just like, hey, why don't I put something together for other wholesalers that's like super easy, super straightforward, same process every single time, and doesn't charge an arm and a leg. Like I had people charging me like 3 or 4 points, or they'd want like a piece of my deal or whatever. And at the time I did it just because I was like, oh, cost of business, right? So put Velocity Advantage Capital together in theory a few years ago, and then started rolling it out in my market here in Charlotte with other investors, wholesalers, just like trying it out, tweaking it, doing some different stuff with it. And then about 18 months ago, just took it nationwide. And in that time period, it's done really well. We're always looking to make it even better if we can, but we have it down to a pretty good science now, where it's just this super simple process. We funded over 300 transactions in the last 18 months, and we're just looking to grow and get in front of more investors, wholesalers nationwide. We can do small deals, medium deals. We funded some really big ones. There's some teams out there that go after multifamily and double close. They go after like trailer parks, mobile home parks, RV parks, commercial deals. So we've done some multi-million-dollar ones too, which is really cool and interesting to see. It's opened me up to like a different side of wholesaling, because I've always done like single family and land, that sort of thing. But in saying that, I always like to start with just saying like, first and foremost, like I am like a wholesaler. Like I know the ins and outs. I know what it's like to be the person in the middle, and on the day of closing, everyone's coming and looking at you, right? Like your seller's like, why aren't you buying this thing? Your in buyer's like, why isn't it together? Whatever's going on. Like it all comes back to you as that middle person. So we always have that in mind with the product that we have. So we are huge on communication. We know how to work with title companies, with attorneys, whatever type of state that you're in for your closing company. And we have a lot of transactions under our belt. Right? Between wholesaling and double closing now, we're getting close to 1,000. So we have a really strong product, really simple, straightforward, and we can get into those details. But it's someone that's been in and is still in your guys' shoes, my other investors and wholesalers in here, is where like all of this came from, is out of a need to have something simple, straightforward. And it's becoming more of a necessity with regulated markets. Like I know Claire was on at the beginning saying she's from South Carolina, which is 20 minutes across the border from me. Like Charlotte's pretty close to South Carolina. I have a lot of investors and wholesalers that hit me up there, and I get them all over the place now where they're like, man, I used to be able to do pass through funding or a dry double close or whatever it looked like before. And now they're cracking down on that. Or now I'm in this market and you can't really do assignments anymore. My title company that used to do them won't let me do them anymore. Now I have to double close. So we're getting a lot of that, like regulations rolling out more and more, like pretty much eventually it'll probably be nationwide in one form or another. We even have it here in North Carolina. It hasn't passed yet, but it's pretty much forcing you to get a license to do it. And then you have to change a bunch of language in your agreement. And then also the seller can back out at any point in time within 30 days. So things are coming down the pipeline, and it's just like kind of making it harder to do just an old school assignment one way or another. So it's becoming a big need for investors and wholesalers. And then also too, it's just like if you're making a pretty big spread and you don't want to sweat it. Like I personally have had deals blow up on me at the closing table. I've had people walk out in my early days. As much as you prep that seller, they see a big assignment fee, it can blow it up. Or your in buyer too. My biggest thing is like in buyers are way more savvy than a seller. And if you do an assignment and they're like, I want to see the original contract, you can try to redact that amount in that fee, but a lot of times they'll come back and they're like, hey, I want to see everything. All of a sudden you're making 40, 50K. They see that, they can come back and be like, oh, there's mold in the back of the crawl space or something, right? Or they'll just come up with something to retrade it because they're like, Pete and his team are making 40 or 50. I can easily get 10 or 15 off of that. So to us, it's just like double closing is just the way to go to protect your profit. Nobody has to see what you're making on the seller side. The buyer side, it's just clean cut and simple. And that's why we put it together. And that's why I think we've had really good success with it working nationwide and just helping and working with wholesalers.
So would you say that it's basically critical for all deals, majority of deals? I mean, I would assume you're more of just like double close it all, avoid
Yeah, I mean, I'm a
conflict.
realist too. If you have a really tight deal, right? Like if you had a deal and all of a sudden it started out at 15K, 20K, and there's back and forth and you're trying to save it and keep it together and you just want to get it across the finish line, keep the momentum going for your team and everything like that, and it turns into like less than 10K. If you can do an assignment and comfortable with it, if you're allowed to do it in your market, I would say at that point, maybe push to do that assignment so you don't have to incur like the cost and fee, so it doesn't eat into your deal. The smaller those margins get, everything matters, right? You want to take it, put it back into marketing, pay your team, do what you got to do. I double close everything now, just because obviously I have a business around it, but I've just learned that once you do that, it just keeps things so clean and like straightforward and like black and white. Like there's no issues, there's no problems, there's no anything like that. Like we have one right now, it's an air deal. It's taken like 9 months to get across the finish line. It's literally supposed to close today, and it's dropped way down from like a 25K deal to I think about 15K. And we're still going to double close it just because I don't want those 11 heirs. One person out of those 11 heirs or their spouse or whoever is going to read through and pour through that closing statement and be like, hey, why is this company getting this fee? And why is the end buyer not the actual company that we have the contract with? So I'm a big fan of doing it anytime you can, but if it gets really tight, I say if you can do that assignment, there's, being a wholesaler first and foremost, I know every little dollar counts. So I'd push for that if you can.
So it's just fair to say that, as you start pivoting into a double close kind of strategy, you should almost consider your offers around that a little bit, just to make sure that things stay normal moving forward, not that, you start noticing some declines. Is that typical, or is that just the way I'm looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of have to know from the beginning if you're going to do an assignment or a double close. That's the way that your contract is structured, right? Because your contract between you and the seller is always going to stay the same. But after that, typically with an assignment, you assign it over that in buyer. With the double close, you have a separate contract where you become the seller and your in buyer is the buyer. So your contracts have to be a little bit different. in just the way that you address the whole situation. Now, I do have some buyers that are savvy, and they're like, hey man, like, to their buyer, they're like, you were going to pay closing costs anyways, like you're still gonna cover the closing costs on that second transaction, right?
Yeah.
Or they'll fit it in there and they're just like, they'll throw an extra like $3,000 fee into it, and this is just like my admin cost or my whatever cost.
Yep.
Some people are good at pitching that, and they're just like, take it or leave it, right? They know they have a good deal. Some people are a little uncomfortable with that. They're worried that their buyers are going to get upset or be weird about it. So I think it's case by case scenario. But yeah, I think going into the deal, knowing if you have the spread and everything, or if you have to double close, you need to go in with the mindset that you are going to buy it, turn around and sell it. So you need the two different contracts, and just to approach it that way with your end buyer as well too. It doesn't matter that much with your seller.
Sure. Mara asks, what's required from the wholesaler for your company?
So good question. What's required is, when you guys submit a deal, we want you to have a contract with your seller and a contract with the end buyer. When we first started out, a lot of people would submit deals where they just had it under contract, but they didn't have a buyer yet. So now we say, hey, submit it over once you have a contract with the seller, once you have a contract with the buyer, and an approximate closing date. Obviously, in wholesaling, that date hardly ever stays the same. It usually gets pushed back. Every once in a while, it gets pushed up. But yeah, we'll have a link for you guys to go to, and it's just a super, super simple process where you fill out information. It'll just ask for like your info, the deal info, approximate amount that you're going to need. We know that amount shifts a little bit. If you put $120,000 on there, it's probably going to be 123 or 124 because you're covering closing costs. And then the approximate closing date. And then that's all we need. And then we just have you intro us to the closing company, because most of our conversation is going to be with that closing company, right? Like, they're going to let us know if things get pushed. They're going to let us know if things change. We can stay in communication with you, and we will, but most of our conversation is back and forth with that title or with that attorney. So we're freeing you up to focus on other deals and take care of what you got to take care of.
Sure. Okay. And then, Claire, I think I'm understanding your question properly. You might have to unmute, but it looks like you're asking, is there a minimum or a maximum for the close duration?
That's right, like in between the seller purchase and the buyer.
Yeah, it's got to be a same day double close. Anything beyond that kind of turns into gap funding. And we just don't do that right now. That might be something that we create a product for down the road. But we just solely focus on same day double closing. So I'd have to close back to back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And you guys can unmute and ask your questions. I think that's totally fine. But Mara did ask, what's the cost? So I guess if you want to maybe run through your just entire process, since other questions will kind of pop up, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna see. Let me see if I can drop it in here really quick.
Sure.
Won't let me pull it from my computer. We'll make sure I just have a simple fee sheet, but we charge. So it's in tiers in the sense of any deal that we fund 150K or less, we just have a flat fee of $2,000. So if it's a $20,000 deal, if it's a $100,000 deal, 130, to keep the smaller deals super simple, we just have a 2K fee. If we fund a deal between 150K and 500K, which is 80% of what we fund is in that price range. Our average, I think, is right around 225K of what we fund. It's 1% of whatever we fund. And then we have an admin fee of $500. So if you have a $200,000 deal that we need to fund, it'd be 1% of that, which would be 2K. And then our admin fee is 500. So it'd be 2,500. For larger deals, thanks, Omnia, my director, put a link to our fees in the chat there. For larger deals, which we do every once in a while between 500K and $1 million, it goes up to 1.25. Since we're putting out a little more capital for it, we charge just a little bit more. So we do those from time to time. We do a handful of those every single month right now, but it's 1.25. And then $1 million plus is on a case-by-case scenario. We don't do a ton of those right now. Obviously, like I said, we did a few of those this year, and we like doing those, and we like working with those investors. But we take those kind of case by case. Our process is we'll give you guys a direct link and everything, but everybody just goes to the link or goes to our website. You'll click submit a deal. And then, like I said, it'll just walk you through it. Again, our goal in this is to make stuff as simple as possible. So it'll literally just be like, hey, give me your name, give me your company name, give me your contact information. Then the next steps will be like, what's the address of the property, like the subject property that you have under contract? What's your purchase price, to give us an idea of like the estimate amount of what we need to fund? And then, hey, what's your approximate closing date? Fill that stuff out. It'll take you to the next step. If you have the A to B and B to C contracts, which we have to be able to submit a deal, it'll ask you to drop those in. You can drop like a PDF of those in, so we have those. And then if you have the closing person's name that you're working with, like if it's an escrow officer with a title company, or if it's a paralegal and an attorney, if you have their information and you can put their email address in there, put that in there. It's if you don't have that, it's fine. You can skip through it. And then there's an initiation fee of $250 to get things started. We're at a point now. It's a good thing to happen, but we're just like bombarded with requests and everything like that. And in order for us to take them serious and be able to like prioritize and be able to fund them, we set up last quarter an initiation fee of $250. Once that's paid, we'll start the process. We'll engage with you. We'll engage with the closing company. We'll get things rocking and rolling. And that is just paying half of that admin fee, which is $500. It's paying half of that up front. So when we get to the closing table, your admin fee drops down at the very end from $500 to $250. So it's just paying it up front, an initiation fee to get everything started. Once we have everything started and you introduce us to the closing company, we'll just start working with them right away. Like we'll just be like, hey, we got this request in. We're going to provide the transactional funding for Mason and his company on this deal. Reference it. You'll be CC'd in on the emails, all that good stuff. And we'll just start going back and forth with them as we get closer to the closing date and have those final numbers. Then we have some pretty simple docs that we have you fill out. That's just confirming, hey, we're going to fund this much. This is our fee. This is the process. We're going to fund the A to B, and then the B to C is going to fund. Then we're going to get our money along with our feedback. You're going to get your profit. Do you agree to that? It's just laying everything out there and you signing off on it. And we do the same thing with the closing company, title company, or attorney. Hey, we're going to wire this money over. It's going to get wired back to us. We just have to spell everything out for them. And then it's just like DocuSign documents. On the day of closing, we are the last piece to the puzzle. So once everybody signs the closing docs for both transactions, the A to B and the B to C, and then once your in buyer puts their money in escrow, we want to make sure that in buyer is fully committed. They're not going anywhere. Like, they are in all the way. We will then wire over the money to the closing company, and then they'll just do the closing back to back. So that is one thing, is just think of us as we're there for you, but we're the very last piece of the puzzle. Once everything's signed and good to go, we wire it over. Our wires go over in like 5 minutes. They're super quick. It'll hit, they'll fund that first one, they'll fund the second one, and then you get your money. The title company disperses everything. We just work directly back and forth with that closing company. So you just submit a deal, introduce us to the closing company. We'll go back and forth. And then on the day of closing, once everything's signed, good to go, we'll fund it. And then they usually fund pretty quickly. Everything's electronic now, right? So they'll fund, record, fund the second one, and send it out. Some states are crazy where they don't even have to record. Like they just have to get the money and they send it like back within like 30, 45 minutes. It's kind of wild, but yeah, pretty straightforward, like simple process.
Seems like it. So there was a couple questions. One looks like it got answered by Mara, but there was a follow-up. So are we still responsible for closing costs as the seller with the B to C?
I guess I can
Yeah. Help me out.
ask. Yeah, so while you were talking, did not want to interrupt you. My question was that percentage that you were talking about, is that based on us being the buyer from the seller or us being the seller to the buyer? And Mara had responded that it was the A-B contract is what the percentage is based on. So then my follow-up question was, so we would then still be responsible for the closing costs out of pocket as the seller to the actual end buyer. Is that correct?
So good questions. And just to clarify, yeah, it's all about whatever you need to close that A to B contract. Because a lot of people sometimes are like scared to tell me what they're making on it. And I'm like, dude, I'm a wholesaler too. Like, I hope you make
Yep.
$100,000 on every single deal. It's doesn't affect what I'm going to charge or anything like that. So it's just whatever you need on that A to B side. On the B2C, what I encourage most people to do is think about it this way. If you were doing an assignment, I feel like 95% of wholesalers out there put the closing cost on their in buyer. They're like, hey, I'm assigning it over to you. In my contract, it says cover closing cost. So they encourage them to do the same thing where it's like on that B2C deal, you tell them, like, hey, I'm doing a double close. You're going to buy this from me directly. But you're still going to cover the closing cost, right? So I would still put that on the end buyer to be like on our contract. And when you write it as you, the seller, they're the end buyer, put in there that your end buyer covers all closing costs. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to like fight you on that and push you on that, especially if they've worked with investors and wholesalers before. I would put it in there. Like I said, I do have a few that are super savvy, and I probably need to pick their brain about it, or maybe have them record something for me. But they have their in buyer, they have them cover closing cost, and then they'll put something in there, some sort of clause or some sort of extra little fee that helps them cover their fee from me, that 1%. It's just the way it's like a marketing cost or whatever, and they put that on there with the buyer. They're like, if you want this property, you're covering closing cost.
That's interesting. I feel like that's counterintuitive, right? Like they come to you to double close to get rid of that fee on the, well, why I'm here is we put a lot of things on market. So getting rid of that coordination fee or whatever you can call it is like a dream. So that's kind of where I would be at with it. Like that would be our purpose. So
Yeah.
I see if we to use this, we actually might be using this for like FHA, VA. So we will probably just have to factor in as the seller on the B2C to actually be paying those closing costs. We could try to negotiate with the FHA, but VA is like a hard stop of like
Yeah.
your buyer's not paying absolutely anything. So just wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, the conventional route with loans like that are definitely a little bit different. And you need to make sure going in, I let people know too, like you have to be pretty transparent with that lender and ask them if they're okay that you do a same day. It's 50-50. Usually conventional loans are easy. FHA is tough because sometimes they have a seasoning period, and that seasoning period sometimes is like weeks or like 30 days. Once you buy something and turn around and sell it, some FHA loans they won't let you do it unless you've owned the property for 30 days or more. I've come across that. And then, like you said, VA can be pretty tricky. So if you're planning on double closing and doing a true same day double close, I would let that lender know from the jump, like, hey, we're going to buy this thing and turn around and sell it. Are you guys okay with that? Because I wouldn't want you to get down to like a week or so or the day of closing and they're like, wait a second, like what's going on? I've seen that happen where I say that from experience, especially early on, right? Like somebody was going to make a killing and a really good deal, and lenders and like the people involved don't pay attention all the time. So
for sure. And then the underwriter just throws it sideways. Absolutely. No, I appreciate the insight.
Exactly.
And then I think your assistant or whomever said, and I actually forgot about it, and thank you for bringing it up. She said that FHA can't double close. It's a 90-day hold. When we flip, yes, I remember that. We've had to hold for like a whole nother month because it was FHA.
Yeah. Mara Garcia. I'm not sure who Mara is. I think she's part of the group
Mara's
in here.
a power SIF user.
Nice.
She's
awesome. Yeah, she's getting it.
Yeah, she knows. I just wanted to verify she's not. Omnia's my director, but yeah, Mara's cracking up. But yeah, it's true. Like, yeah, it's with FHA, it's really, really tough. It's tough with FHA to do assignments, like to do novation deals and stuff like that. Like you really have to have like a closing company that'll kind of work with you on that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think this year we were able to do, we actually did a assignment with a VA.
wow.
Yeah.
Did you
Don't ask, because everyone asked how. I said, I don't know. It happened.
was it labeled as something besides like an assignment? Was it like a marketing cost or something that they put on the
Yeah,
HUD?
but we've
Yeah,
done that from the jump
yeah,
because that's just kind of how we rolled with it.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna continue to let you talk, but I definitely want to hop on. Just we're in a smaller market, so there's smaller minds, so people are catching on to what we're doing, especially agents, that are not like-minded, and instead of joining with us, they're kind of going against us. So this is kind of, a door that I foresee that we're gonna probably walk into.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
think
like that
most
stuff going on in like Indiana where you have to tell people you're not like a professional real estate, like a real estate professional if you're a wholesaler and you're not like a licensed real estate agent. Like
To
it
be
is
honest
working
with you, I don't
against
know
you.
how anyone else feels in PA, but they threw that Act 52 out for PA, and I don't know if it applied for anything else, but I just was concerned because I'm in PA. They just threw things out that we needed to put in documents and was like, okay, go have fun. And so they're just like, there's more and more regulation, but we also have no idea if we're doing it right because they just tell us like two sentences and then that's it. So
that's
we're
that
super big on transparency. Like our acquisition, he's walking in, you will see me at the closing table to make sure everything goes good, but I'm not going to be buying it. We from the very start we said if we are going to get these deals, we have to do it right.
yeah.
So,
And I would say a few things on that is a lot of the regulation, and everything coming down the pipeline is super in the gray, where it's like, what exactly do we need to do or what do we not need to do? There's people in North Carolina right now, you go on a wholesaling like Facebook post, and there's people saying that the law passed and it didn't even pass. Like it's sitting on like the Senate floor of North Carolina and they haven't pushed it through. So
yep.
there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of like question marks. There's a lot. It would be nice if they're going to pass it, just be like, hey, man, make it super black and white. Tell me what I can do, what I can't do.
Yep.
So again, I'm not an attorney. I don't know every little state. I would say always just check locally because it changes so much state to state and everything like that. But one way to just be like keep it super simple is like, yeah, I actually am the buyer. I may only own it for an hour, but if you double close, you can go in and you're being 100% honest. It was funny. I was on Brent Daniels' podcast back in July and we were talking about this and he like paused and he's like, anyone out there that's ever worried about not actually being a buyer as a wholesaler, he's like, I now like bless you as a buyer if you work with Pete and double close because you aren't lying to anybody. You aren't saying you are actually buying the property using my capital. But it does give you more confidence. It just keeps things super clear. And even if you're in a market that's the last one to have regulation out of all 50 states, again, if you're like, man, I'm going to make a killer spread on this, I'm going to make a really good deal, I wouldn't worry about your seller too much is I would worry about your in buyer. I've had more in buyers come back to me and be like, hey, Pete, you made 60K on the last deal. Cut me a break on this one. And I'm like, wait, you said that it didn't matter how much I made. It was a good fit for you. Like they're counting your money, whether you realize it or not. And so if you double close, they're not going to know. Like they can go back months later and look in the tax records if they want to and kind of get an idea of it. But like right then and there and in the foreseeable future, like they're just like, oh, I'm buying it off him directly. And I even tell my people, like I'm like my buyers, I'm like, hey, I'm double closing this. Right. And I'm just like, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm double closing. I'm not doing an assignment and I leave it at that. And they don't pry, and like push me on what I have it under contract for or whatever. But just again, double closing something if you're in a regulated market is the way to go. And then also if you're making a pretty decent spread and you don't want it to blow up on you, it just makes, once you do one or two of them and realize how like simple and straightforward of a process that we have, it just makes it like a no brainer. You're just like, cool. Like I'm just going to knock this out. I'm going to double close it on to the next one. I'm not going to like the day of closing be sitting there like hoping that it all works out.
So when you're saying, I'm double close, like you're talking to your end buyer, I am double closing this. You just leave it there.
That's it. Yeah, because they're like what. Obviously, I don't lead with that. It's just like, hey,
Right.
this is the price. Go back and forth. Let's say you've done your walkthrough. They're like, I really like it. Let's do this. And you're like, cool. I'm going to send you over a contract. I'm actually going to be double closing this. So instead of sending you over an assignment contract, I'm going to send you over a contract where I'm the seller and you're the end buyer. And then obviously in that, whatever your terms are, as far as if you want some non-refundable or what that looks like, I literally take my contract that I use with sellers and turn it around and put myself as the seller, put them as the end buyer, because in that contract it says they're going to cover all closing costs. And then there's a line in there for like non-refundable deposit, that sort of thing. So I just take my same contract and flip it around. But yeah, I just say, hey, cool, man. Like let's ink this thing. By the way, I'm going to double close it. So I'm going to send you a contract where I'm the seller and you're the end buyer. Just keep it at that.
Yeah. Interesting. So what other questions are kind of coming up, guys, as you're listening to this? I mean, Mara, have you double closed before?
Yes, because I was dealing with hedge fund too, back in 2020, into 2022. So they would force me, same thing. They would be like, your assignments are over 20,000 now, so we would have to double close. But I kind of twisted their arm and they would actually do the pass through. And it was, but it started to get really sticky. And luckily I did have the money at some point, but I wish I would have known Peter, because there's places where they charge points and all of this stuff. By the time you look, it's like 8 grand down the drain, so to speak. So you're like, wait a minute, I mean, hey, I'm not here to count anybody's money, but you know.
Yeah.
So I'm back to square one. And then, so sometimes I would, like if I was making 27, let's just say, I'm like, fine, let's just do the 20, which really sucks. That's not cool, because we work really hard to get these, meaty deals and get these good deals. And now we have to shave off our blood, sweat, and tears. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be in touch, Peter, for sure.
Sweet. What curious, what hedge funds were you selling to? I'm sure it's some of the same ones we were.
Amherst was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they were. It was Amherst, aka like Tricon. I think it was one of their reps that told us. I think it was like a $30,000 deal, because our average deals went from like 20 something to just like local buyers. Where when we work with those funds, like they were paying crazy prices, right? So it went up to almost 40,000. But I remember, I think it was like a $30,000 deal. And the acquisition rep is super cool guy. He was just like, hey man, like, don't say anything. I'm telling you this, but you're going to want to double close this, because they're going to agree to it. And the moment they see the assignment fee, like halfway through the process, we're going to come back with some BS and get you down under a certain amount.
Yep.
And we were just like, okay. So of course, at that point, you scramble and you're just like, what do I do? And then that led to finding out about double closing. He might have even been the one that was like, just double close. And again, I was like 4 or 5 years in, a couple hundred deals under our belt. And I was like, what the hell is double close? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's our big like tagline too is protect your profit, right? Like you said, like you put out a lot of money, a lot of energy, blood, sweat, and tears, like protect that thing. Don't let anybody else count your money. Keep it super simple and just, get the deal done, move on to the next one. But I've had deals blow up on me. I've had buyers come back on me. I used to be able to do pass through funding. But then they outlawed it in North Carolina. And I have people in Tennessee kind of telling me the same. Like I have some guys coming to me now that are like, yeah, my title company won't do that anymore. And I think it's Tennessee and maybe another state. So I think more and more they're kind of pushing that out the way. Or they would end up charging like that attorney. They were pass through funding, but then they would end up charging me a fee. And I'm just like, aren't we just using the end buyer's money? Right. Mm-hmm. Like they were tacking on stuff too. So yeah, it gets to cut out all like the gray area stuff or whatever. I just straightforward, just double close it, protect your profit, and like move on to the next one. And again, I once people do a deal or two with us and see how simple the process is and we know our stuff, I think it puts them at ease if they've never done a double closing before. And then they just, keep coming back for all their deals. So we want to be the go-to for anybody that needs transactional funding nationwide.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of course, I appreciate it.
It sounds like in every deal, there's at least one person who's like, damn it, there goes 5K or there goes 3K.
Yeah. I
Hilarious.
Yeah, I had somebody years ago, like a seller, had the attorney call me on speakerphone at the closing table. And she was just like, I'm just going to say I'm an old person and I didn't agree to this because she saw that we were making like a $30,000 assignment fee. And I was like scrambling. I was like shocked. I was like, hey, you agreed to this. It doesn't matter. You're still getting what you're getting. You know, I told you from the beginning, I have partners. I have other people I might sell it to. And she straight up was just like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to say I'm a 70-some-year-old lady and senile. And I was like, let's just move forward. Like I kept my cool. She got up, she called my bluff and just walked out. And I had to go back and renegotiate with her. And I didn't, again, this was before I knew about double closing. And looking back on some of those deals that like fell apart or crazy stuff like that happened, I was like, God, I wish I would have had this back then. Right. So I've lived through it too and dealt with a lot of stuff where if I would have double closed it, it would have just been a much easier process for sure.
Dang. What about you, Joshua? Have you done any double closing? I saw you popped in here recently.
Yeah, I've done a few. I think probably between like one to three. The biggest thing I remember was just the overall like simplicity of it. So the first deal, it's like you're operating from a different stance instead of like trying to coordinate everything. You get the title. It's a whole bunch of people there that, they may not be as familiar with. They're looking at you like, why are you not signing the docs? It's just it's cleaner, you know what I mean, for those bigger deals for sure. On the smaller ones, I haven't double closed on anything that was less than like 15K. The smaller ones, I'm more so willing to just take the risk just because of how it looks like on the settlement sheet. So yeah. That's what
And
I
is that
try.
also because like that 15K price point, does it just not bring up complaints if a seller sees it or an end buyer sees it? Like it's just like a threshold where it starts crossing that 20K mark and people are like, oh, wait a minute, is that kind of what that is?
Yeah, yeah. And I would also say it's very deal by deal too. Certain price points I end up closing our properties on 30, 30,000, and then others is like we're up to like 200,000 or like 150. So 15K relative to 150 is gonna look very different
Yeah,
relative
right.
to 30K. So yeah, just trying to steer clear of any, extra
Yeah,
questioning or anxieties and just navigating the security of the close.
nice. What other questions are coming up, guys? Anything where we haven't spoke about quite yet? Process related, how to get in contact, is it right for you? Anything like that coming up? Wait. What about some other like frequently asked questions, Peter, that you run into in terms of like situational stuff or something that people should know prior? Or obviously it's a pretty straightforward thing, but I just want to make sure that we maximize as much information as we can out of you.
Yeah. I think we've touched on a lot of it. Again, when you are working with your buyers and you lock somebody in, right? Like they come in with a strong offer and they're willing to do some like non-refundable or whatever kind of like puts them above the other buyers. And again, the biggest question I always kind of have is like, well, what do I do? Do I do an assignment? Do I have to do a different contract? And I'm just like, yeah, it's just a little bit different. Again, where your second contract is you are the seller, they're the buyer. And again, I think the easiest thing that I do is I just say, hey, I have a simple 4-page contract. It just says that you're buying it as is. I'm the seller, you're the buyer. So I just switch myself around as the seller, they're the buyer. And it kind of puts everything out there. And now if your buyer is like, well, I like to use my contract or I like to use like the standard state one, whatever, if they end up doing that and you're cool with it, like that's up to you. But you just make sure that you position yourself as the seller, they're the buyer. And if they're pushing you for like, why are you double closing? Why are you whatever? You just be like, I do this on almost all my deals now. It's just what I do to keep it clean and simple. And you don't have to get into particulars of, oh, I'm making a big, massive spread on it, so I'm going to double close it. And they're going to be like, okay, what's really going on here? But just keep it simple, keep it, just to the point. And usually it's just the easiest way to approach it. If they push them probably too much, just be like, this is what I do on all my deals. But that's kind of the biggest question, is besides what the process is, and everything like that, is just like, how do I approach that with my buyer? Again, it's from a wholesaler to other wholesalers, we just try to keep it really simple. You literally, once you have your 2 contracts, is you fill out a form, pay that $250 initiation fee, and then we just get rocking and rolling on it. And again, we understand like hardly any of these deals close on time, right? Like everything gets pushed for one reason or the other. The amount that you need is going to change a little bit. Sometimes you have to go back and renegotiate, and that's fine. Like if you have originally needed 200,000, but then you're like, hey, I renegotiated and I got it down to 180. Whatever that final price is what our fee is based off of. So things change, things move, things shift. We're totally fine with that. And then, yeah, besides the initiation fee, we cover everything else. So we don't say, hey, you guys have to bring 10%, 20% to the table or anything like that, right? Like on the day of funding, whatever you need cash to close for that A to B transaction, we fund that full amount. So I think that's another thing. I know there's other types of like lending and groups and stuff out there where they want to only do a certain percentage, or they like want a percentage of your deal if they fund it, that sort of thing. Our stuff is just like, nope, whatever you need cash to close, that's what our fee is based off of. And besides that initiation fee of $250, like you don't have to bring anything else to the table. We'll fund the full amount of what you need on that. So
Awesome. I think you kind of just answered Sam's question, which is, can you do that when you don't have ownership of the property? I would say the answer would be no, because you need your A to B and your B to C contract already, right?
correct. Yeah.
And Kevin, he said same day, I believe is what he was getting at.
Yeah, I see Kevin Davis's question there. It's got to be same day double closing, or else that turns into like gap funding, and we don't do that right now. We strictly do double closing.
Peter, this is unrelated. Well, it's related to it, but I know a lot of, especially newer wholesalers, like most of the end buyers are still going to say, "Well, I need to," because you don't own it, right? Like I went onto the county website, I don't see your name on it, right? So even if you say like, "Hey, I'm double closing," they want to see the A to B. How do you handle that? Because for me, like I still will send you the A to B, but I'm blocking the price.
Yeah. I mean, if they're really pushing for it, you could do that, and then just block out your contract price with them and just say, hey, this is what I have with them. If they really push for that. I honestly, myself and my team don't get a lot of that on when we double close. I think it just matters with the buyer if they've worked with investors and wholesalers a lot before. But you could say, yep, I have it under contract. We're going to close on it, and we're going to turn around and sell it to our end buyer same day. And then if they really push for it, you could show them the contract. But beyond that, I mean, then it probably just wouldn't, be the best buyer, because even if you were doing an assignment, same thing, right? You could be like, well, I don't own it yet. I'm actually never going to own it. I'm going to sign it over to you. So I guess it's just like a trust situation there, or how savvy that buyer is after a while. But yeah, if they push for it, I guess you could show them that contract. I would just mark everything out as far as like contract price and everything. And Omnia did just drop the link that we have set up for you guys for the landing page and everything like that in the chat. Again, you just go to the link, and then it'll say it in a big blue button there of submit a deal. And then you just go through the steps. Another thing I wanted to let everybody know is we do offer proof of funds as well. That's a big piece that people need with their offers. We, if on the same link on the site there's another button that says proof of funds, and it will spit it out a PDF for you right then and there. It's going to ask the same stuff, like however you want those proof of funds to look, like with your business name on it. You have to put the subject property address. I'll say that again, subject property address. For some reason, people a lot of times put like their office address or home address, and you're like, that's not going to work. It'll spit it out for you. We offer 5 of those a month free. And it's tracked through like URL. We've tried to have some people be sneaky and submit multiples from the office with different websites, and it will block it. So we do 5 free. Anything after that is $50 of proof of funds per month. So it just recycles every calendar month. And then there is a certain amount. I think it goes up to 750K. Anything over that, we have to manually do it. But yeah, we do offer proof of funds to just like 5 free a month for anybody that needs those to submit with their offers as well. So that's on there. There's a blue action button there for proof of funds.
Awesome. And the referral program.
We do, Kevin. If anybody sends us a referral, as far as like, obviously you wouldn't be seeing people in the group here, but if you have like a friend, buddy, somebody else that you refer us over to and submits a deal, we pay those out monthly. So we actually we'll pay you 15% of whatever we collect on those deals and we'll pay you out at the end of the month. So that's a big piece of our business is word of mouth and referrals, and we always appreciate those. Again, you can let people know they don't have to be in the same market as you. They can be in different markets all across the country. We get referrals from other people because wholesalers know other wholesalers from, different places across the country. So yeah, we do a affiliate referral program. Just make sure whenever they send it over that they name drop, or you can even text us and be like, hey, my friend's about to submit a deal. This is their name. Keep an eye out for it, and we'll track it and put it in our CRM that way.
Who should they text for that?
They can text Omnia. If you want to put your number in the chat, you can Omnia, or I'll put mine in here.
Actually, on the link, guys, to submit a deal, there is a question: how did you hear about Velocity? They can say a friend and then add your name in there. This way we can track this better instead of just texting us that there is a referral.
Perfect.
There you go.
Awesome. If you guys ever have any follow-up questions or anything like that, I'll put my number in here that you can text me or reach out to me. You can hit me up on like Facebook or Instagram and everything too. I get a lot of people that reach out to me there. But if you have any follow-up questions and whatnot, as soon as I have a minute, I'll get back to you. Pretty good about communication and everything too.
Perfect. Yeah, take that number down, guys, and this is where we'll probably wrap it up. This was awesome. This was straight to the point, about as simple as it gets. Sometimes we're talking about stuff and it takes 2 hours just to explain half of it. So I think this was a really effective call, and we'll definitely have to do another follow-up. I think we were maybe considering having you on a webinar in the future, so there will definitely be more from Peter and his company. Peter, are you in our Facebook group?
That is a good question. Let's double check that, and
we'll have to get you in the
verify.
Facebook group. What I'll do is I'll share this call in there, and obviously there might be some questions. It'd be cool for maybe you or Omnia to pop in and respond, and feel free to post every now and then if you're seeing some stuff in the market in terms of how things are shifting or how you could maybe help. I think everybody in here would probably agree that that'd be a helpful tool. Maybe it'll help you out too in terms of business. So thank you so much, man. This was awesome. So I think we'll wrap it up here, guys.
Thanks so much for having me, and I appreciate it, and I hope everybody has a good end of the year and happy holidays. And like I said, any follow-up or anything, just hit me up and we'll chat.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Happy holidays.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Holidays, everyone. Bye.